My beloved child, before you do anything else, stay here with me for a moment. Do not rush past this. Do not treat this moment as ordinary. I know how many things are competing for your attention right now. I know how quickly the world moves around you. I know how many voices are speaking at once, each one asking for your focus, your energy, your heart. Yet somehow, out of all the places you could have been, out of all the words you could have heard, you are here. And deep inside, a question may already be forming in your mind. Why am I here? Why did this appear before me today? Why did my eyes stop here instead of moving on? My child, I want you to know something very important. This moment is not as random as it seems. There is a reason you are listening right now. There is a reason these words found you at this exact time. There is a reason your heart feels drawn to stay, even if you cannot fully explain it. I see the questions you have been carrying. I see the weariness you have tried to hide. I see the quiet longing buried beneath your responsibilities, beneath your routines, beneath the smile you show to others. There have been moments when you wondered if anyone truly understood what was happening inside of you. There have been nights when your thoughts felt heavier than your words. There have been days when you kept moving forward even though your heart felt tired. And through every one of those moments, I was with you. Even when you could not feel me, even when you doubted my presence, even when you questioned whether your prayers were reaching heaven, I was there. I have always been there. My child, timing matters more than you realize. You often see only the surface of events. You see a day, an hour, a decision, a circumstance. But I see every detail woven together. I see every road you have walked. I see every delay that frustrated you. I see every closed door that confused you. I see every unexpected turn that made you wonder where your life was heading. And I tell you now, nothing has been wasted. Even the moments that seemed meaningless have been part of a larger story that you cannot yet fully see. There are seasons when I speak through obvious answers. There are seasons when I speak through scripture. There are seasons when I speak through people I place in your path. And then there are moments like this. Quiet moments, unexpected moments, moments that arrive without announcement, moments that feel ordinary on the outside but carry something deeper beneath the surface. This is one of those moments. This is not about coincidence. This is not about luck. This is not about chance. This is about a divine appointment. Long before this day arrived, I knew this moment would come. Long before you felt the burdens you carry today, I knew the questions that would live in your heart. Long before you searched for answers, I was already preparing ways to remind you that you are not alone. My child, you have been looking for clarity, maybe not with your words, but with your heart. You have been longing for reassurance that your life still has purpose. You have been hoping for a sign that I am still working behind the scenes. You have been wondering if there is more happening than what your eyes can currently see. And I am gently telling you now that there is. Much more. There are things unfolding that you do not yet understand. There are prayers being answered in ways you have not yet recognized. There are doors being prepared that are not yet visible. There are pieces moving into place beyond your sight. What feels hidden to you is not hidden from me. What feels uncertain to you is completely known by me. That is why I need you to lean closer. Not in fear, not in anxiety, not because something terrible is waiting around the corner, but because your heart is standing at the edge of a moment that matters. A moment of awareness, a moment of awakening, a moment when you begin to realize that your story is not drifting without direction. I have been guiding you all along. My child, there is a hidden message beneath everything you have experienced recently, beneath the delays, beneath the disappointments, beneath the unanswered questions, beneath the restlessness you have been feeling. The message is simple. I have not forgotten you. I have not abandoned you. I have not stopped working in your life, and I have not stopped calling your name. So stay with me. Let your heart become still. Let the noise settle for just a little while. Because this moment has a reason. This moment has a purpose. And before this conversation is over, you will begin to see that I brought you here for far more than you imagined. And perhaps that is what has made this season so difficult for you, my child. Not simply the events you have faced, but the weight you have carried inside while trying to keep moving forward. I see it more clearly than anyone else ever could. I see the exhaustion that does not always show on your face. I see the silent struggle hidden behind ordinary conversations. I see the emotional fatigue that follows you into the quiet moments when no one else is around. There are burdens you have learned to carry without speaking about them. You have become so accustomed to holding them that sometimes you hardly notice how heavy they have become. Yet I notice. I see the pressure of trying to be strong when your heart feels fragile. I see the effort it takes to keep showing up each day when part of you feels drained. I see how often you tell yourself to keep going, to push through, to stay composed, even when your soul is longing for rest. There have been days when you felt overwhelmed and could not explain why. Nothing dramatic happened. Nothing obvious changed. Yet deep inside, something felt tired. Something felt stretched thin. Something felt like it had been carrying more than it was ever meant to carry. My child, there are wounds that do not bleed where others can see them. There are battles that leave no visible marks. There are disappointments that settle quietly into the heart and slowly steal joy one piece at a time. I know about those hidden places. I know about the prayers that seem to go unanswered. I know about the hopes you carried for so long. I know about the situations you tried to fix, the relationships you worried about, the responsibilities that followed you, even into moments that were supposed to bring peace. Sometimes your mind has felt like it could never fully rest. Even when your body stopped moving, your thoughts continued running. Questions, concerns, what-ifs, regrets, uncertainties. They came one after another, and over time they began to feel normal. But, my child, just because something becomes familiar does not mean it was meant to stay. I know how often you have felt responsible for things beyond your control. I know how often you have carried the emotions of others while neglecting your own. I know how often you have worried about people you love. I know how often you have felt disappointed by situations that did not turn out the way you hoped. And perhaps the hardest part has been that you rarely talk about it. You smile when asked how you are doing. You keep moving. You keep functioning. You keep fulfilling your responsibilities. Yet beneath the surface, there is a hidden ache that few people truly understand. There have been moments when you felt lonely, even in a crowded room. Moments when you wished someone could look into your heart and immediately understand the burden you could not find words to describe. Moments when you wondered whether anyone saw the effort it takes simply to keep going. I see it, my child. I see every bit of it. I see the exhaustion that comes from carrying disappointment for too long. I see the weariness that comes from hoping and waiting. I see the silent tears you never allowed to fall. I see the emotional walls you built because you were tired of being hurt. I see the fears you tried to ignore. I see the questions you pushed aside because you did not know how to answer them. And through it all, I have remained close. Not because you were strong enough to hold yourself together, but because I have never stopped watching over you. There are places inside your heart that feel tired in ways words cannot fully explain. A weariness deeper than physical fatigue. A heaviness deeper than ordinary stress. It is the exhaustion that comes from carrying hidden pain for too long. The exhaustion that comes from surviving when you long to truly live. The exhaustion that comes from constantly pouring out while feeling empty inside. And my child, before anything else changes, I need you to know this truth. You are not weak because you feel tired. You are not failing because you feel weary. You are not forgotten because you feel exhausted. The hidden burden you carry has been real. The struggle has been real. The emotional fatigue has been real. And I have seen every moment of it. And somewhere along the way, my child, the burden became more than something you carried. It began to shape the way you saw yourself. Little by little, without even realizing it, certain thoughts found a place inside your heart. They did not arrive all at once. They arrived quietly, slowly, repeated over time until they started to sound familiar. And what is familiar often feels true, even when it is not. I have watched this happen within you. I have seen the moments when disappointment became self-doubt. I have seen the moments when delay became discouragement. I have seen the moments when unanswered questions became false conclusions. There were seasons when life felt difficult, and instead of simply seeing the difficulty, you began to wonder if the problem was you. You started asking questions that wounded your own heart. Am I enough? Am I failing? Why does it seem easier for everyone else? Why am I still struggling? Why does it feel like nothing is changing? My child, those questions were born from pain, but over time they opened the door to beliefs that were never meant to stay. One of the greatest lies you have been carrying is the belief that you have been forgotten. You may not say those exact words out loud, but the feeling has been there. Every disappointment seemed to whisper it. Every delay seemed to repeat it. Every closed door seemed to confirm it. Forgotten, overlooked, left behind. You looked around and saw others moving forward while you felt stuck. You saw blessings arriving in the lives of people around you while you were still waiting. And without realizing it, your heart began to wonder whether you mattered as much as you once believed. My child, I know how painful that feeling can be. I know how exhausting it is to keep hoping when answers do not arrive as quickly as expected. But the feeling of being forgotten and the reality of being forgotten are not the same thing. Another lie slowly found its way into your thoughts. The belief that you are not enough, not talented enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough, not faithful enough, not capable enough. You began measuring yourself against impossible standards. You compared your behind-the-scenes struggles to the visible victories of others. You compared your weaknesses to their strengths. You compared your journey to their destination. And every comparison quietly stole a little more confidence from your heart. Fear has a way of speaking loudly when you are tired. Self-doubt has a way of sounding convincing when you feel weary. It tells you that your mistakes define you. It tells you that your failures are permanent. It tells you that because you have struggled, you are somehow less valuable. It tells you that because you have fallen short, you have fallen beyond grace. My child, these thoughts have followed you for longer than you realize. They have influenced decisions. They have shaped expectations. They have convinced you to hesitate when you wanted to move forward. They have made you question blessings before they even arrived. They have caused you to shrink back from opportunities because part of you expected disappointment. Sometimes you have become your own harshest critic, speaking to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love, holding yourself to standards you would never place upon another person, carrying guilt long after forgiveness was available, carrying shame long after mercy was offered, and beneath all of it was a hidden fear, the fear that maybe you were not who you hoped you were, the fear that maybe you would never become who you wanted to be. But, my child, I need you to understand something important. Fear often speaks with certainty while offering no truth. Self-doubt often sounds wise while leading you away from hope. False beliefs often disguise themselves as facts simply because they have been repeated for so long. Yet repetition does not create truth. Time does not create truth. Pain does not create truth. Only truth creates truth. And although you may not fully see it yet, some of the thoughts that have been shaping your view of yourself are not reflections of who you are. They are reflections of wounds you have been carrying. They are reflections of fear. They are reflections of exhaustion. They are reflections of hidden pain. And the more you begin to recognize those false beliefs for what they are, the more you will understand that the story you have been telling yourself is not the whole story at all. And that is where I want you to pause for a moment, my child, because there is something you have not been able to see. You have been looking at yourself through the lens of your pain, but I have been looking at you through the lens of your purpose. You have been measuring yourself by your struggles, while I have been watching your growth. You have been focusing on what still feels broken, while I have been seeing what is quietly becoming stronger. This is one of the greatest differences between your perspective and mine. You often judge a season by how comfortable it feels. I often see a season by what it is producing inside you. When you looked at yourself and saw weakness, I saw endurance. When you looked at yourself and saw delay, I saw preparation. When you looked at yourself and saw failure, I saw someone who refused to quit despite disappointment. My child, there have been moments when you believed you were falling apart. Yet from where I stand, I saw you continuing to move forward when many would have stopped. I saw you choosing kindness when your heart was hurting. I saw you continuing to care for others while carrying burdens of your own. I saw you holding on to hope even when your emotions told you to let go. Those moments may have seemed small to you, but they were not small to me. They revealed a strength you do not fully recognize yet. You see, hidden strength rarely feels powerful while it is developing. A tree does not become strong because of one sunny afternoon. Its roots grow deeper through storms, through seasons of waiting, through unseen processes beneath the surface. In the same way, much of the growth within you has happened where human eyes cannot see it. You have been looking for visible evidence that you are changing. You have been searching for dramatic signs that your life is moving forward. But I have been doing some of my deepest work in the hidden places of your heart. The patience you have learned, the compassion you have gained, the wisdom that came through difficult experiences, the resilience that developed through waiting. These are not signs of failure. They are signs of growth. My child, when you see someone who still struggles, I see someone who has not given up. When you see someone who still has questions, I see someone who continues seeking truth. When you see someone who feels tired, I see someone who has carried much and is still standing. There are things about you that you overlook because you have become accustomed to them. You barely notice the ways you have matured. You hardly recognize the strength that is formed within you. Yet I see it clearly. I see how far you have come from the person you once were. I see the prayers that changed your heart even before they changed your circumstances. I see the lessons you learned through seasons you would never choose for yourself. I see the faith that remained alive even during moments of doubt. My child, you have spent so much time focusing on what is missing that you have struggled to notice what has already been built. You have been looking at unfinished chapters and assuming the story is incomplete because something went wrong, but I see the entire journey. I see every chapter connected together. I see how experiences that once felt meaningless are becoming part of something beautiful. What you call weakness, I often call growth in progress. What you call delay, I often call protection. What you call disappointment, I often call redirection. What you call hidden, I often call preparation. There are seeds I planted within you long ago that are still growing beneath the surface. Just because you cannot see them does not mean they are not alive. Just because progress feels slow does not mean progress has stopped. My child, I have never looked at you and seen a lost cause. I have never looked at you and seen someone who is not enough. I have never looked at you and seen someone forgotten. When I look at you, I see my beloved child. I see courage that survived difficult seasons. I see faith that continued breathing beneath the weight of fear. I see hidden strength forming where you believed only weakness existed. I see unseen growth taking place in places you stopped paying attention to. And while you have been wondering whether anything good is happening inside you, I have been watching a transformation unfold that is far greater than you realize. And perhaps this is the question that has lived quietly within your heart for longer than you realize, my child. If you are with me, why has it taken so long? If you see me, why am I still waiting? If you have a plan, why does it feel like nothing is happening? I understand those questions. I understand the weariness that can grow during a season of waiting. Waiting is difficult because it often feels invisible. You wake up each day hoping for change, yet many days appear exactly the same. You pray, you trust, you continue forward. Yet the answer seems distant. The breakthrough seems delayed. The direction seems unclear. And slowly, the waiting itself can begin to feel like a burden. But my child, what if the waiting was never empty? What if the process you have struggled to understand has been filled with purpose all along? When a seed is placed into the ground, it disappears from sight. From the perspective of someone watching, it may seem as though nothing is happening. Days pass, weeks pass. The soil looks unchanged. There is no visible evidence that growth is taking place. Yet beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. Life is preparing itself for a future season. The seed is not being ignored. The seed is being prepared. And in many ways, your life has followed the same pattern. There have been seasons when you felt buried, seasons when you felt hidden, seasons when it seemed as though your prayers vanished into silence. Yet beneath the surface, growth was taking place, not always around you, often within you. The world teaches you to value immediate results. It celebrates what appears quickly. It rewards what becomes visible fast. But some of the most beautiful things I create require time. Strong roots do not form overnight. Deep faith does not develop overnight. Wisdom does not arrive overnight. Character does not appear overnight. There are lessons that can only be learned in the waiting. There are strengths that can only be developed through the process. There are parts of your heart that can only be shaped through seasons where you must trust me before you can see what I am doing. My child, the waiting has not been punishment. It has not been evidence that I forgot you. It has not been proof that your prayers were unimportant. The waiting has been preparation. Sometimes I delay what you want because I am preparing what you need. Sometimes I slow the journey because I care more about who you are becoming than how quickly you arrive. Sometimes I protect you from receiving something too early, not because I want less for you, but because I want more for you. Think about the roots of a tree. The greater the growth above the ground, the deeper the roots must go below it. The roots develop first. The visible growth comes later. Yet people often celebrate the branches while forgetting the hidden work that made those branches possible. In the same way, there has been hidden work taking place within you. Patience has been growing. Discernment has been growing. Compassion has been growing. Dependence upon me has been growing. Even when you could not see it, your roots were stretching deeper. Your faith was reaching further. Your heart was becoming stronger than it was before. My child, every season has a purpose. Winter is not failure because it does not look like spring. Seeds are not failing because they have not yet become trees. Preparation is not failure because it has not yet become fulfillment. The process has value. The growth has value. The waiting has value. One day you will look back and understand that what felt like delay was often protection. What felt like silence was often preparation. What felt like standing still was often unseen growth. And when that understanding comes, you will realize that I was never absent during the waiting season. I was present in every moment of it, tending the roots, strengthening the foundation, and preparing you for a season that could only be carried by the person you were becoming. And now, my child, a deeper question begins to emerge. If the waiting has not been empty, and if the process has been shaping something within you, then who are you becoming? For so long, your attention has been focused on what you were hoping would change around you, the opportunity, the answer, the relationship, the circumstance, the breakthrough. Yet beneath all of those visible desires, something quieter has been taking place, something deeper, something that will remain long after circumstances come and go. You are becoming a person capable of carrying what once would have overwhelmed you. You are becoming someone stronger than the version of yourself who first entered this season. Not harder, not colder. Stronger. There is a difference. Strength is not the absence of struggle. Strength is what develops because of it. There was a time when uncertainty would have shaken you more deeply. There was a time when disappointment would have convinced you to quit sooner. There was a time when fear would have spoken louder than wisdom. But little by little, through experiences you did not always understand, something within you has been changing. Wisdom has been growing where confusion once lived. You may not always notice it because wisdom often arrives quietly. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes wisdom is simply the ability to pause before reacting. Sometimes it is the ability to see beyond the emotion of a moment. Sometimes it is recognizing that not every closed door is a loss. Sometimes it is understanding that timing matters. The person you were years ago could not see what you can see now. The lessons you have learned have become part of who you are. Resilience has also been taking root inside you. There have been seasons when you felt stretched beyond your limits, seasons when you wondered how much more you could carry. Yet here you are, not because every day was easy, not because every answer came quickly, but because resilience was forming. Resilience is not built in comfort. It is built when you keep moving forward despite uncertainty. It is built when you rise again after disappointment. It is built when you continue believing that your story is not finished. Every challenge that did not destroy you left something valuable behind. Every difficult season strengthened muscles of faith you did not know you possessed. Patience has been growing as well, and I know patience is rarely celebrated while it is being developed. It often feels frustrating. It often feels slow. Yet patience creates a steadiness within the heart that cannot be created any other way. Patience teaches you to trust the process without demanding immediate results. It teaches you to remain faithful in ordinary moments. It teaches you that growth is not measured only by speed. Some of the strongest people are not those who move the fastest. They are those who remain steady through changing seasons. And then there is compassion. My child, pain has a way of opening the heart when it does not become bitterness. The struggles you have faced have given you a greater understanding of others. The tears you have shed have taught you how to recognize hidden pain. The battles you have endured have made you gentler toward people carrying burdens of their own. Compassion is one of the most beautiful things being formed within you. It allows you to bring comfort because you understand what it feels like to need comfort. It allows you to extend grace because you understand what it feels like to need grace. The person emerging from this season is not the same person who entered it. There is more wisdom, more resilience, more patience, more compassion, more depth, more maturity, more understanding. The transformation may not always be visible in the mirror, but it is real. And one day you will look back and realize that while you were waiting for circumstances to change, something far greater was happening. You were becoming the person prepared to step into what comes next. And now, my child, you arrive at a moment that is both simple and profound. After all the questions, after all the waiting, after all the growth that has taken place beneath the surface, you may still be wondering what comes next. What am I supposed to do now? The answer is not as complicated as you may think. This is not a moment that requires you to have every detail figured out. It is not a moment that requires perfect understanding. It is not a moment that requires you to force open doors or control outcomes. Instead, it is an invitation, a gentle invitation, a sacred invitation, an invitation to release what you were never meant to carry alone. There are things in your heart that have been weighing you down for far too long. Old disappointments, old fears, old expectations, old wounds. Some of them have become so familiar that you hardly notice them anymore, yet they continue to occupy space within you. They continue to shape your thoughts. They continue to influence your decisions. And now I am inviting you to let go, not because those experiences were insignificant, not because your pain was not real, but because you were never meant to build your future around what hurt you. You were created to move forward, not remain trapped inside yesterday's burdens. There may be people you need to forgive, not because what happened was acceptable, not because the hurt did not matter, but because forgiveness loosens chains that bitterness quietly tightens around the heart. Carrying resentment often feels like protection, yet over time it becomes another burden. Forgiveness does not erase the past. It simply frees your future from being controlled by it. My child, there may also be expectations you need to release. Expectations about how quickly life should unfold, expectations about how answers should arrive, expectations about what your journey should have looked like by now. Sometimes the greatest source of frustration is not reality itself, but the gap between reality and the picture we created in our minds. Let go of the need to control every detail. Let go of the pressure to understand everything before taking the next step. Let go of the belief that certainty must come before trust. Trust rarely begins with complete understanding. Trust begins when you choose to keep moving forward even when some questions remain unanswered. There are fears I am inviting you to surrender as well. Fear of failure, fear of disappointment, fear of being vulnerable, fear of stepping into something unfamiliar. Fear often disguises itself as wisdom. It tells you that staying where you are is safer than taking a step forward. It tells you that avoiding risk will protect your heart. Yet many times fear simply keeps you standing outside the very opportunities meant for your growth. You do not have to surrender because you have no fears. You surrender despite them. You trust despite them. You move forward despite them. My child, surrender is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is not passivity. True surrender is the courageous decision to stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours to carry. It is the willingness to place your future into hands greater than your own. It is the quiet confidence that you do not need to force what is meant to unfold in its proper season. The invitation before you is not complicated. Let go of what keeps pulling you backward. Forgive what continues to wound your heart. Release what you cannot control. Surrender what you cannot carry. Trust what you cannot yet see. Take the next step that is in front of you, not 10 steps, not 20. Just the next one. because every meaningful journey begins that way. And as you take that step, something remarkable begins to happen. The weight starts to feel lighter. The future begins to feel less frightening. The path becomes less about controlling outcomes and more about walking forward with confidence. This is the invitation before you now, not an invitation to strive harder, not an invitation to prove yourself, an invitation to trust, an invitation to release, an invitation to move forward with an open heart. And as you begin releasing what has been holding you back and trusting what you cannot yet fully see, a new question naturally rises within your heart. What is waiting ahead? What does the road beyond this season look like? My child, I will not ask you to build your future upon certainty. I will ask you to build it upon hope. There are chapters ahead that you cannot yet read. There are opportunities that have not yet appeared. There are moments of restoration that have not yet arrived. There are doors that remain hidden from view today, and that is why faith remains so important. You often want to see the entire path before taking the next step, yet many of the most beautiful journeys unfold one step at a time. If you could see everything at once, you would no longer need trust. If you already knew every detail, there would be no room for wonder. But there is something beautiful about discovering the future one day at a time. There is something sacred about learning that hope can exist even before evidence appears. My child, the future is not simply a destination waiting somewhere ahead. It is already beginning to unfold through the choices you make today. Every act of trust, every moment of courage, every decision to keep moving forward despite uncertainty, these things quietly shape the chapter that is coming. You may feel as though your life has been standing still, but life rarely remains still for long. Seasons change, circumstances change, hearts change, opportunities emerge, new relationships form, new understanding arrives, new possibilities reveal themselves. What feels permanent today may one day become a distant memory. The burden that seems overwhelming now may not always feel this heavy. The question that troubles you now may not always remain unanswered. The challenge that stands before you now may eventually become part of a testimony of growth. My child, there is restoration ahead, not necessarily a return to what once was, but the creation of something meaningful from what has been learned. Restoration often arrives in unexpected forms. Sometimes it looks like renewed peace after a season of anxiety. Sometimes it looks like confidence returning after years of self-doubt. Sometimes it looks like joy quietly reappearing after a long period of heaviness. Sometimes it looks like finding purpose in places where you once felt lost. The future I invite you to imagine is not built upon fear. It is built upon possibility. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that what once controlled your thoughts no longer has the same power over you. Imagine discovering strength where you once saw weakness. Imagine carrying less emotional weight than you do now. Imagine stepping into opportunities that you are currently unable to see. Imagine becoming the person you have been growing into all along. Not perfect, not without challenges, but stronger, wiser, more grounded, more at peace. My child, breakthrough is often misunderstood. Many people think breakthrough means a sudden event that changes everything overnight. Sometimes it can happen that way, but often breakthrough begins quietly. It begins the moment a heart chooses hope over despair. It begins the moment fear loses its authority. It begins the moment trust becomes greater than uncertainty. It begins long before the visible results arrive. What is ahead may not look exactly as you expect. In fact, some of the greatest blessings enter through doors you never planned to open. Some of the most meaningful opportunities arrive in ways you never anticipated. Some of the most beautiful chapters begin after seasons that felt confusing and difficult. That is why you do not need to know every detail today. You only need to remain open to what is possible. There is more ahead than you can currently see. More growth, more healing, more wisdom, more opportunities to become who you were created to be. The chapter you are living now is not the final chapter. The story is still unfolding, the pages are still turning, and beyond the horizon of this present season, possibilities are already waiting to be discovered. And now, my child, before this moment comes to a close, I want you to carry something with you, not fear, not pressure, not the weight of trying to figure everything out. Carry peace. Carry hope. Carry the quiet confidence that your life is not drifting without purpose. You began this journey carrying questions. You carried burdens that felt heavy. You carried doubts that seemed louder than your faith. You carried worries about the future and uncertainties about the present. Yet as you stand here now, I want you to remember what has been revealed along the way. The struggles you faced were not the whole story. The waiting was not empty. The growth was not invisible. The process was not meaningless. There was purpose, even when you could not see it. There was preparation, even when you felt delayed. There was transformation taking place, even when progress seemed slow. My child, do not leave this moment believing that everything depends upon your strength. You were never meant to carry your journey alone. You were never meant to have every answer before taking the next step. You were never meant to control every outcome. There is freedom in releasing that burden. There is peace in accepting that you do not have to know everything today. You only need enough light for the step that is in front of you. Let your heart rest in that truth. Let your mind rest in that truth. Let your spirit rest in that truth. The chapter ahead does not require perfection. It requires trust. The opportunities ahead do not require certainty. They require willingness. The future ahead does not require you to become someone else. It invites you to continue becoming who you were created to be. My child, may peace settle over every anxious thought. May hope rise where discouragement once lingered. May courage grow where fear once held influence. May wisdom guide your decisions. May patience steady your heart. May compassion continue to soften your spirit. May resilience strengthen your steps. And may you remember that growth is often happening even when you cannot measure it. There will still be days when questions return. There will still be moments when uncertainty appears. There will still be seasons that challenge your understanding. But you do not face those moments as the same person you once were. Something has been built within you. Something has matured. Something has deepened. Carry that truth with you. Remember that not every season is meant to be understood immediately. Remember that not every answer arrives all at once. Remember that some of the most beautiful things unfold gradually, one faithful step at a time. As you continue forward, do not focus only on what is missing. Notice what has already been given. Notice the strength that has developed. Notice the wisdom that has formed. Notice the healing that has begun. Notice the hope that still remains. My child, let this be the truth you carry beyond this moment. The season you are leaving behind does not define you, and the future you cannot yet see is not beyond reach. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep growing. The story is still unfolding. The pages are still turning, and the same hand that guided you through yesterday will remain faithful tomorrow. Go forward with peace in your heart, steadiness in your spirit, and hope in your eyes. You are not standing at the end of your story. You are standing in the middle of a journey that is still becoming beautiful.